This video shows the basic steps to properly wash a car from start to finish. Let's get started. You'll want to start by thoroughly rinsing your brushes before you start cleaning the wheels. This will ensure you don't scratch the surface of them with any dirt or debris that might be left on them. Next, you'll spray the wheel completely, including all the recessed areas, with a dedicated wheel cleaner. Make sure to get all the nooks and crannies in between the spokes as well. Spray the tire completely and the wheel well area with an all-purpose cleaner. Now take your soft bristle brush, one that's meant for cleaning wheels, and you'll want to scrub the face of the tire all the way around nice and thoroughly. Then move on to the wheel itself. You need to get in between all of the spokes and all of the angles. This can be challenging. I like to start at the top, at the 12 o'clock position, or the valve stem, and work my way all the way around until I get back to where I started. This ensures I don't miss any spots. Be sure to get the emblem area and around the lug nuts as well. If necessary, use a brush meant for cleaning the lug nut area. Now take your brush that's used for the recessed areas and get in between the spokes as best as you can to clean the inner wheel. This is difficult to do, and you'll have to just do the best you can to get as much dirt and brake dust out of this area. Now with the round style soft bristle brush, clean the wheel well area where you sprayed the all-purpose cleaner earlier. Now using a steady stream of water, you're going to want to rinse all of the cleaners that we sprayed on there and were scrubbed into the surfaces away. They need to be gone, so make sure that you rinse the inside of the wheel well, the tire, the lug nut area until there are no suds visible. Now rinse off all of your brushes and get them ready for the next wheel. Make sure there are no suds left on them. Now we're going to get our bucket ready. Before you get started, you're going to want to thoroughly rinse out the wash mitts and the bucket itself. Place the recommended amount of soap into the bucket. Now filling it up with water should sound like something easy, but if you do this with too high a pressure, you end up with a bucket full of soap suds and not really much soapy water. So you'll want to find the balance and make sure that you keep the suds from building up so you end up with a bucket full of soapy water and not a bucket full of suds. Now it's time to start pre-rinsing the car. This gets us ready to wash it. Pre-rinsing removes all of the dirt and debris that's loose on the surface. Any bird droppings, leaves, sap from trees, any other debris will come off with this pre-rinse. I like to start at the top and work my way down, taking advantage of gravity to help me loosen up any dirt, and any additional water that's going to run down will run down easier this way. Don't be shy with this step. You'll want to make sure to spray every bit of the car, including all the areas that are recessed as much as you can, and around the mirrors, and around the lights and emblems and door handles, and as much as you can. Now we get to actually wash the car. With your soapy wash mitt, start scrubbing on the car, usually at the top, and start working your way down. Be sure to contour your hand to the shape of the panels that you're working on and scrub into all the nooks and crannies in recessed areas. If you don't bend your hand, you won't be able to reach these spots correctly. Because we're washing this car outside in the sun, we have to rinse it pretty often, and we can't get to wash large areas of it at a time, as the sun will actually start to dry things up on you while you're working on it. Swap out your wash mitt for the other one that you have in the bucket, or shake it off really well in the soapy water to loosen up any built up dirt. Be sure to rinse the car immediately once again after a couple of panels. This is important when you're washing the car in the sun, because soapy water can stain the paint if it's allowed to dry. Now bumpers and grills are some of the most challenging parts of the car to clean because of how many recessed edges and nooks and crannies there are on them. Make sure you get them all. Sometimes crouching down or squatting down and putting yourself right at their height is the best way to do it so that you don't miss anything. And once again, rinse things off so that they don't dry up on you. We'll move on to the side of the car and wash a few panels at a time. This side of the car happens to be in the shade, so it gives you a little bit more time to deal with it, but I still wouldn't wash more than 3 or 4 panels at a time. Squatting down to a lower height, once again, will help you see what you're doing and make sure you don't miss any spots. The lower spots are the toughest ones to reach, and you can't get them if you're standing, so make sure you get right down in there and get the job done the right way. You'll want to make sure to open the fuel door and clean inside that area and inside the fuel door itself. It gets built up with a lot of grime and dirt and is often overlooked. Now we'll rinse the side of the car we just washed. Rinse off all the soap from top to bottom, ensuring that all the soap bubbles and dirt and debris are rinsed away, leaving the side nice and clean. Moving on to the sunny side of the car is going to change how we do a couple things. All the work is the same, except now you need to work faster and keep the surface watered or wet to ensure that it doesn't allow any soapy water, or dirty water for that matter, to dry on it. You might end up with spots in the paint or on the glass that can be permanent if soapy water or water is allowed to dry on them. You'll have to rinse the vehicle more frequently, or maybe even wash less panels at a time. Washing the trunk area poses its own challenges. The recessed areas around the license plate and all the areas around the emblems need to be scrubbed with a little more care and attention. Rinsing this area also poses its own challenges. You need to make sure that you rinse the area thoroughly, because soapy water wants to stay in all those nooks and crannies that you were fighting with earlier when you were washing them. We'll move on to the rest of the side of the vehicle that's facing the sun. Don't forget to move quickly and work fast. You also need to keep the surface wet to ensure that you don't allow any soapy water to dry on it. So if you have to, grab the hose and wet it down while you're working on it. And once again, we'll be rinsing off all the soap on this side of the car. Take the hose and do a quick rinse or spray over the rest of the car to make sure that it's wet and that it hasn't dried out yet. Now that we've washed the whole car and rinsed all of the panels, it's time to dry off the car. Move quickly around the car using a chamois to dry it off. Make sure to get into all the nooks and crannies you can reach, and wring out any excess water from the chamois as often as you need to. It's not uncommon to re-wet the car in some spots before drying it if they started to air dry before you got to them with the chamois. Once you've dried the exterior of the car, you can move on to getting either compressed air from a compressor or a blower type dryer to force all the water out of the recessed edges and water traps so that you can completely dry the car. You may need a chamois to wipe off any excess water that's been blown out. Go around the whole car for this process. You'll need to open up the fuel door in the trunk and pull door handles back. Take advantage of having the blow dryer and dry off the wheels, around the lug nuts, the tires. Get in all the door gaps, all the water traps. Mirrors really require your attention because they hold a ton of water, so get all around them. Once again, the front bumper and grille area are going to be a challenge. They hold a ton of water. You really need to get in there and blow dry all of these areas out and wipe off any excess water. You may have to do this a couple of times to get all of the water out. Take your time and be patient and work your way around the rest of the vehicle to make sure it's all dried up. This seems like a lot of steps to clean a car, and it really is, but once you've done this a few times, your results are going to be staggering. You'll want to do this over and over again as it's a very satisfying process to go through and clean a car properly and make it look really nice. Take a step back and admire your work because it really, really looks amazing when you do it right. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.